Hey, what's up, guys? This is Cody the Coin Raptor coming at you with another Bitcoin video, and I've got so much information for you guys. This video is going to be a little bit longer than my other videos, so I'd really appreciate if you could try to make it through the video and smash that like button and also share. Would greatly appreciate that. But there's a lot I want to go into for today's video. There's been a huge decrease in the Bitcoin price. Bitcoin has honestly taken an absolute pounding over the past about a week or so. So not only has Bitcoin been down the past couple of weeks, but if you actually break things out and look out long term, you can see here that Bitcoin has mostly been sideways for about the past 4 months or so. You can see here that when we started off and about the start or so of March, after we went up to break the new all-time highs and come back down again, Bitcoin has largely been sideways with a couple of small notable exceptions like what happened back in early May. But for the most part, we've seen a strong consolidation of Bitcoin. And this isn't really that abnormal. When you take a look at the previous cycle for Bitcoin and you take a look at where it's been in the past, it has had many of these periods of consolidation. And just looking at the last couple of years, we've had two large periods of consolidation back in June of 2022 and then again in March of 2023. And these periods of consolidation have lasted from about 6 months to about 7 months or so. The one we're in right now is about 4 months. And normally this happens before Bitcoin actually explodes, before the price heads higher, and before the resistance levels are finally overcome and we see Bitcoin prices continue the uptrend and move higher. But we have to have a little bit of patience when it comes to Bitcoin because we can't really expect it to go up forever in a straight line. That's not really how things work. Bitcoin has to consolidate first before it can actually move higher, kind of like a coiling spring in which it compresses and then after that it shoots up. So Bitcoin is in one of its consolidation phases right now. And one of the reasons why Bitcoin has been unable so far to breach that all-time high at about 72, 73K is you have concentrated selling around that region like what we saw in the past couple of days. So specifically, if we zoom in here, we can see that over the past couple of days, we've tried to push past that 72K region, gotten rejected multiple times. It almost looks like there's a double top forming right here, pushed into this green layer of support and demand. Bitcoin bounced off of about 64K and pushed back up again. Now, that being said, there is also strong support here at about 61K. And this is kind of where I would expect the next leg down to be if we actually found some strong support here. And the reason why Bitcoin has done so poorly over the past couple of days is because of the whale sales. So we have Ki Young Ju, who actually posted here on CryptoQuant. He's one of the analysts at CryptoQuant. And he posted that the long-term holder whales realized profits have actually shot up a lot. They've shot up massively past about over $800 million of realized profit. So whales have been selling, actually, surprisingly, in the past couple of days. We've seen large whale sales, and they've basically taken profit. Many of these whales were buying back down here in early May, and then again back in a little bit later May, and now they've been selling, and they've been selling steadily. So he's put up this, and I think this is really important to realize that some of these whales will actually sell, and we haven't actually seen, according to their charts here, we haven't seen such a large number of realized profits for whales since back in 2022. So this is a pretty huge position. And he also calls out ETF net flows. So we're going to go ahead and talk about our ETF net flows. If we take a look at our SOSO value XYZ, we can see that the daily net outflows really have been $152 million worth for the Bitcoin spot ETFs. Now, if we go ahead and take a look at the all of the flows for the past couple of days, we've seen that they're all mostly negative. So we've seen a large number of outflows from the total net assets going from about $62 billion for spot ETFs down to where it is right now at about $56 billion. We've seen large amounts of selling for Bitcoin spot ETFs over the past week. And that is partially the reason why Bitcoin just can't seem to get anywhere and it's stuck almost in the mud. So you have not only whales selling, but you also have a spot ETF holders selling as well. And one of the reasons for that, I've been digging, has been, believe it or not, the AI trend. So in regards to the AI trend, you have Bitcoin competing with other asset classes. Now, if we take a look at the NASDAQ composite over the last 5 days, it's up over 2% in 5 days. And Bitcoin in the same time span has been down 1.33%. So Bitcoin is down at a time in which the NASDAQ is up. And one of the reasons for this is because of the AI trade. If you take a look at NVIDIA stock, for instance, NVIDIA stock is up 10% in the last 5 days. And it's not just NVIDIA. It's a lot of other semiconductor companies, manufacturers. It is the NASDAQ as a whole. It is the chip space and the tech sector. Anything that has anything to do with AI has been sucking all of the oxygen out of the room, and a lot of money has basically gone from Bitcoin to these AI trades. All right, so that's something to keep in mind when we take a look at the Bitcoin price. The simple fact is that we've seen a rotation. Wall Street has moved their money from the shiny new toy that was Bitcoin spot ETFs and is now putting it into AI stocks and AI plays like NVIDIA. Next, I want to talk about the liquidations for Bitcoin. So the liquidations for Bitcoin have also been pretty huge. In fact, we have a liquidation heat map here. We've seen many of these long liquidations get completely liquidated. We saw here at about 64,900. That's $455 million worth of liquidation leverage that got wiped out. Again, down here at about 64,000, when Bitcoin dipped below that level, we saw another $443 million worth of longs liquidated. And longs have really had a hard time the past couple of weeks. We see here, if we take a look at the total liquidations chart, we can see that we've had $54 million on the 17th, and the 19th about another on the 16th we had about $19 million worth. Again, on the 12th we had $41 million, and then $44 million on the 13th. So longs have really been taking it, and they've been capitulating. They were over leveraged at a point, and now they're actually the long leverage has actually disappeared for the most part. Now, on the other side of that trade here, you can look at your the short leverage, and the short leverage here has actually exploded. Okay, so we have $67,000 at around that region. You have another $500 million, and above that, you have another $500 million at 67,500. So we have just massive liquidity levels. The shorts are just sitting at those levels. They're betting that Bitcoin's not going to return back to those levels anytime soon. Now, if Bitcoin does, as well as I do, we could see a pretty massive short squeeze and liquidation and a push higher past the 67K region, probably all the way up to about 69K or so if we do actually reach those levels. Now, when it comes to the Bitcoin overall and my expectations for the Bitcoin price, if we take a look at our chart here and we go back and look at the current downtrend that we're in right now, we look at the daily RSI, we're at about 39, so that means that Bitcoin is rapidly approaching oversold conditions. I'm actually expecting that we'll get a decent sized bounce here in the near term, and Bitcoin won't continue to bleed off, at least for a little while yet. I think we're going to get a nice little bounce. And in fact, if we take a look at our Bitcoin returns by month, we can see here that June typically is kind of a bad month for Bitcoin, normally negative in both the average and the median. But when we get to July, on the other hand, July is seasonally a very strong month for Bitcoin, with an average increase of about 8% and a median of almost 10%. So that's something to look out for. Seasonality will play into the Bitcoin price. We will probably wind up seeing an oversold bounce here before too long, but we're going to need a lot more momentum and a lot more volume in order to try to overcome that 72K resistance point that Bitcoin just really hasn't been able to get get over. Now, on the positive side, if we take a look at our long-term holder behavior, we can actually see that when it comes to long-term holder behavior as a percent of the Bitcoin supply, we've seen it actually go up from 77% to 78%, indicating that long-term holders have been buying the dip, but they've obviously been outmatched. They've been outnumbered by the number of sellers at this region. So, but we are starting to see long-term holders start to collect more Bitcoin. So that's a positive sign. Now, on the other side, if we look at our trader behavior with our Bitcoin options, it paints a kind of a different story. So we talk about our Bitcoin options. Max paying price for the 28th of June, which is the end of the month, is $55,000. So traders, taken in totality, the calls and the puts are betting on a $55,000 Bitcoin price by the end of the month. And again, take that with a grain of salt. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to go ahead and see 55K Bitcoin, but that is what traders are betting on. And if we take a look at our open interest, or the number of calls, the number of puts by expiration date, we can see here that by far the 28th of June is the largest day of those put options and those call options as well. So traders right now overwhelmingly bearish on Bitcoin. The whales have been selling, and that's one of the reasons why we've seen Bitcoin's price get depressed so much. But again, in the short term, I do expect we're going to wind up seeing a little bit of a bounce from these levels as that seller exhaustion finally sets in. Now, I've said that multiple times that the only time I'm really interested in buying Bitcoin is probably below 60K. If we do get a Bitcoin move below 60K, that is where I would consider starting to buy Bitcoin. Above 60, I'm going to wait. And I have I'm already fully allocated into my Bitcoin position, so I'm not in any particular rush to get into any more Bitcoin. But anyways, that's just me. Let me know what you guys are doing during this time of Bitcoin uncertainty. If you really think that the AI trade is starting to lean heavily into Bitcoin and actually take a lot of the dollars that would normally go into Bitcoin and instead put it towards companies like Nvidia, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys are doing, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.